Het is spennend för út, het is gaman för út, já. Við skulum koma út. I'm out walking the dog, who is a pretty grown puppy by now, 9 months old. And this is one of those first real spring days here in Iceland, at least here in the southwest. It's maybe not spring in the same way as they're having now in continental Europe with 20 plus degrees Celsius, but at least the sun is out, the snows are thawing, and it's probably close to 10 degrees Celsius right now, and the sun feels quite warm. So, since I had to go out and walk the dog anyway, I thought, why not take you on a bit of a stroll around my neck of the woods, my wider neighborhood. She's chasing garbage. Why not take you on a bit of a stroll of my neighborhood? I've done a few of these downtown. Why not do this and have a look at what an Icelandic suburb looks like? I think when we think suburbs, at least I do, I think of either these American large sprawls with paper boys on BMX bikes throwing newspapers into front yards, big lawns, picket fences, etc., or I see these British or continental European, also quite sprawly large neighborhoods consisting of reddish brick houses. Do Icelandic suburbs look the same, or are they different? I think they're quite a bit different. Now, when I say in Iceland, in this case I'm of course talking about here in the Reykjavik area in the southwest. Reykjavik itself has some big suburban areas, Breiðholt, Árbær, Grafarvogur, Norðlingaholt, to name a few. But then the surrounding municipalities, which make up the capital area, Kópavogur, Garðabær, Hafnarfjörður, Mosfellsbær and Seltjarnarnes, are pretty much suburban, well, for the most part, are suburban towns comprised of many suburban neighborhoods each. This mileage, of course, slightly varies if you're in other parts of the country, with smaller towns naturally not having a big urban versus suburban, or don't having these separations between urban and suburban neighborhoods. I think one of the big fundamental differences between here and the Hollywood standard is that at least we don't see the same amount of all these big lawns, all this focus on private space. That does exist. People have their backyards, they have their patios, and they have their barbecues. Some people may even have a hot tub, but there isn't a big backyard with a swimming pool, etc. Places are more closely huddled together, most likely because of wind and the weather, wind which is now blasting my face. And there's a much larger focus on the dog pulling, not focus on the dog pulling, but there's a much larger focus on shared community infrastructure. There are common spaces, there are sports grounds, there are playing grounds, there are systems of pathways connecting everything, walkways, bicycle paths, schools, kindergartens, all these things. It's all supposed to be easily connectable for humans, not just for cars. So you should be able to walk practically anywhere, at least in the more modernly built neighborhoods, like the one that I'm walking around in now, Kvörf in Kópavogur. Another kind of fundamental difference that I've noticed seems to be about composition. Maybe this has to do with the fact that distances are, if you can hear this, these are just children from a nearby school screaming in the background. They are just playing, no worries, nothing wrong going on. Schools, of course, around here are quite open, not these walled off communities you see somewhere else, so quite a generally secure and safe environment. Anyway, I was talking about composition, which probably has to do with distances, which aren't that great here. You can Aside from traffic, you can drive across the Reykjavik municipal area in about a half an hour. The composition of these neighborhoods, it's not like you have a large sprawl with just one type of housing, then another one. Here everything is intermingled. So you have single family or one family occupancy homes intermingled with more communal living like condos and apartments. I actually just realized recently that a condo is something you own and an apartment is something you rent. Is that right? I thought the two were just exactly the same thing. So most of us here actually live in condos, myself included. So we own our own living space and are responsible for maintenance and participate in a housing association, etc., etc. Even though there, of course, are some people who rent. But yes, those compositions, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to focus on the dog as well. These compositions, single family houses, row houses, condo buildings, everything is kind of intermingled together to give a diverse flavor within a community. It's seen as slightly problematic when you get almost a monoculture of one housing option within a neighborhood here. Architectural style and building materials. Building materials, I mentioned you won't see those red brick houses here in Iceland. I don't think brick houses work well in a cold and earthquake prone area. So what you'll see here is older traditional houses which are maybe wooden, but most modern houses are built from reinforced concrete. So concrete with a lot of iron bars in them for resilience. The style itself, I think Icelandic houses are probably relatively moderately sized compared to American ones, slightly large compared to an average European one, somewhere in the middle, I presume, closer to European standards, likely. And the style is gonna differ and vary from time to time when it was based on when it was built. So you can pretty much see when or in which particular decade a neighborhood was built or first built, based on the architectural choices of the time. Now, closeness with nature is a general thing. I mean, outside of the Reykjavik municipal area, there is just wilderness with about 50 kilometers to the next inhabited town. So not like in like densely populated continental Europe, where it's just on to the next village and the next village and the next village. We are always relatively close to nature here. Where we are right now is an exaggerated version of that. So I live right on the edge of town. Just a couple of hundred meters away from my house. We're actually out of the city and into a protected forestry area here to the east of Reykjavik. And this is something that I absolutely love down here. The closeness to the lake. There are actually a couple of farms here, an egg farm and some other generic something farm. I don't know. And there is something unique, or it's not unique. And there's something quite nice about this ability to just go out for a walk. You're close to all services, modern city services, but in the other direction, within a stone's throw, you're out of the city and into nature. And I love that. Now, different neighborhoods, of course, do vary a little bit in terms of tone and style. They have different reputations, one for being more well off, others not, etc., etc. But from a sense of like security and those things that really matter, there isn't a fundamental difference. Yes, there's a couple of places which are slightly more dodgy than others, and there's a few, like the town of Garðabæ, where people really don't care about their neighbors and don't provide any public housing for the less fortunate. But otherwise, I think we're looking at a very, I mean, not homogeneous, because these neighborhoods, they have different, again, slightly different styles and levels of affluency. Dog is pulling. But in the things that really matter, it's all quite similar. This is my absolutely favorite part of the area to walk around in, down by the lake. All these older houses in here which have been encroached on by the growing city. So it's a nice transition, a very rapid transition between the city, the suburb of the city, almost a rural lifestyle, and then straight into just wilderness beyond. Another thing to keep in mind with these neighborhoods is that they are the more modern ones. They're all called something. We were in Kvörf earlier, we're in Þing right now. And what that pretty much means is that every single street in that little neighborhood, these neighborhoods are usually no larger than, let's say, a square kilometer or 2 or 3. All the streets, if we're in like now in Þing, all the streets are named something Þing. So, and they tend to be alphabetically ordered. So if you are looking for a something Þing and you're close to a V something Þing, you're probably on the wrong end of the neighborhood and you need to move to the other part. We met a few enthusiastic cousins. I think this is it. We're coming up on the end of our walk. So I realize this is not a topic which is vastly interesting maybe to travelers and visitors, because most people don't visit the suburbs or have any need or longing to. But at least it's now out there if somebody is interested in seeing how most of us regular Icelanders live. So thanks for joining me, the dog, and my overblown 80s hair out on a walk around the suburbs of Kópavogur, the outskirts of Reykjavik. Thanks for joining. See you in the next one.